with their friends as if they would signify that in their friend each loved his own soul. And then he continues in paragraph 22. The higher the style we demand of friendship, of course, the less easy to establish it with flesh and blood. In other words, you can make the idea of a friendship so lofty that it's almost impossible to actually find it, right? We walk alone in the world, reminding us, of course, of that line from Conrad's Heart of Darkness, we live as we dream alone. We walk alone in the world. Friends such as we desire are dreams and fables, but a sublime hope cheers ever the faithful heart, that elsewhere, in other regions of the universal power, souls are now acting, enduring, and daring, which can love us and which we can love. Wow. In other words, he makes the argument that I may not have a lot of friends, but I have to hold on to the idea that there's a friend out there, that there's somebody I can meet and will become true spiritual pals. Yeah, we'll get on. It seems to me that this is always one of those interesting dynamics in the years of high school and college, when you're looking to try and find someone with whom you can exchange that part of yourself that's most sacred to you, that you can become friends. He finishes, you demonstrate yourself so as to put yourself out of reach of false relations and draw to you the firstborn of the world, those rare pilgrims whereof only one or two wander in nature at once, and before whom the vulgar great show is specters and shadows merely. And then in paragraph number 23, he continues, let us drop this idolatry. Let us give over this mendacity. Let us even bid our dearest friends farewell and defy them, saying, who are you? Unhand me. I will be dependent no more. Now, in paragraphs as he finishes 23, 24, 25, this is going to be the kind of controversial part of the essay, not surprisingly because it's Emerson. He says, here's the deal. You have to be willing to let your friends go, right? He says it, we will walk alone in the world. He continues in paragraph 24. He says, I do then with my friends as I do with my books. So a lot of people have problems with this line. I do then with my friends what I do with my books. I would have them where I can find them, but I seldom use them. We must have society on our own terms and admit or exclude it on the slightest cause. I cannot afford to speak much with my friend. It's an interesting idea. And it goes something like this. It's good to spend time away from your friends. It's good for both you and your friend to go through an experience of being apart, because it's in that moment that you begin to kind of understand the value of the very friendship that you wish to celebrate and honor. Paragraph 25, and the way he ends it is compelling. It is thought a disgrace to love unrequited, but the great will see that true love cannot be unrequited. True love transcends instantly the unworthy object and dwells and broods on the eternal. And when the poor interposed mass crumbles, it's not sad, but feels rid of so much earth and feels its independency the surer. Yet these things may hardly be said without a sort of treachery to the relation. The essence of friendship is entireness, a total magnanimity and trust. It must not surmise or provide for infirmity. It treats its object as a god, that it may defy both. In other words, the idea here is that when you have a true friend, that one of the actual proofs of that friendship is that it will last departure. And in fact, your friendships may end and you move on. But still, he says, it's a compelling friendship. Well, there's the essay. Let's work now quickly at level 2 and level 3. At 2A, messages, themes, self-evident ones here obviously apply. Obviously, one of the major ones is to have a friend, you must be a friend, and it's an exchange, a back and forth, right? It is a relationship between equals. Point 2, you can't have friendship between people who are not equals. There has to be an equality going on there. Emerson was famous for having a deep, deep friendship with a woman, right? A woman who at the time is considered to be somehow lesser than a man, and yet for Emerson, Margaret Fuller was one of the most important people in his life. This colleague between equals is an important one as well. Finally, a major message and theme here is that you got to be willing to let friendships go. You can't hold on too long. If they're not going to last, you've got to be willing to let that happen and to move on. To feel confident that it's okay. Just like that leaf that comes off the tree, there will be another leaf that will arrive there. In other words, the loss of friendship, and we deal with this, don't we? For example, in breakups, we deal with this, of course, in death. The fact that I will never have another friend like this. Well, Emerson says, don't be so sure. Over time, you might find another friend. There's a bit of hope there. At 2B, the rhetoric, obviously some beautiful word pictures here. Some students have said the most powerful one is that symbol of the tree and the idea of the leaves. That when I lose a friend, I have to remind myself that a tree will always have another leaf. And it's not that I de-emphasize my last friendship, but I'm always building. Some students struggle with this. They have really, really close friends when they're quite young, right? Maybe, for example, through high school. And they can never really quite move beyond those friendships. Emerson will argue, if your friendships are keeping you limited, this is not healthy. You should be able to move on and get on to new friendships. That's a powerful word picture. At 3A, how do we relate this to other texts that we're familiar with? Well, I don't know. What for you is the best show that treats the idea of true friends? Texts, we often think, for example, in the classic tradition of the classic two friends, lovers, Achilles and Patroclus in the Iliad, right? That notion of two people that are so closely tied together that when Patroclus is killed by Hector, Achilles must respond and respond powerfully. Right? At 3B, this is interesting stuff. Let's ask a few questions then. What are your thoughts on friendship? Like, for example, how would you define what a true friend is? Have you, a 3B question that's maybe a bit disturbing to ask, but we got to ask it. Have you been a good friend to others? Or have you expected them to be good friends to you, but not so often you good friends to them? How did a friendship end for you? And how did you move beyond that? Can you write about that for a few minutes and think about that? So that the next time that you lose a friendship, are you able to move beyond it? Do you agree with the idea that friendships take a long time? This is, of course, the argument against Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, as we say in those lectures, Shakespeare compressing the time from the time that Romeo meets Juliet to they get married to, of course, they commit a mutual pact of suicide together. That's a lot. That happens in a very short period of time. And many have said, that is not love, that is not friendship because it happens too fast. Do you agree? Or do you think, in fact, two people can meet and almost immediately become deep, fast friends? How did that happen for you? And of course, if it did happen for you, maybe that's a good sign. Maybe if a friendship ends quickly, that's because it starts quickly. Do you agree with Emerson on that count? Yes or no? Well, there you go, an introduction to Emerson's Friendship. We'll turn in our next study in the Harvard Classics Volume 5 to Emerson's essay, Heroism. I welcome you back in a moment or two. Thank you.